number of points, you also don't want to have a drastic change in your LSAT scores, or there are things that you have to do to kind of mitigate that in your application. So because of that, you don't want to take the exam cold turkey. If you are curious about, how well you will do on the LSAT exam, the best way to kind of gauge how you will perform is by doing practice tests. So do a diagnostic exam on lsac.org. They have an old test that you are able to utilize. You can score it afterwards. There are other resources that you can use as well to kind of do practice tests, but that's the best way to kind of gauge how well you will possibly perform on the actual exam. And so you don't want to just take the exam just to see how you'll do. And you also don't want to take the exam before you prepare for it, before you've actually prepared for it. And I'll talk about preparing for it in some of these later slides. So in terms of preparing for the LSAT exam, another mistake is not spending enough time studying. And so when I say not spending enough time studying, what I am referring to is literally the number of hours that you commit to preparing for the exam. So I recommend that applicants, plan to spend somewhere between 10 to 20 hours a week preparing for the exam, and that they also spend somewhere between 6 months to a year preparing for the exam. And so if you are a sophomore or a junior in college, you of course have more time than someone who is a senior. If you are a senior in college hoping to start law school in the fall, then maybe you have to condense the number of months that you study for the exam, but up the number of hours that you commit to studying. But you definitely do want to put in as much time as possible actually preparing for the exam before you sit for it. You don't want to just spend a couple of weeks. You don't want to spend just 1 month. You want to spend more time actually preparing for the exam. Another mistake when it comes to taking the LSAT exam is not committing to a consistent study schedule. So when I talk about spending 10 to 20 hours a week for 6 to 12 months, if you are really going to do that, that usually requires you to be committed to an actual study schedule, where that means Monday through Fridays, when you get home from work or school, you spend 2 hours studying, and then on Saturday you do practice tests, or Monday through Fridays, you spend 4 hours studying, and then you take the weekends off, or some sort of schedule that you are able to commit to and follow to ensure that you hold yourself accountable to preparing for the exam. Of course, there are going to be times where you are burnt out and, you need to take a break, but for the most part, you definitely do want to, let your friends and family know Fridays from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm studying for the LSAT. I am unavailable, not answering calls, etc. So it's not just about committing to the study schedule, but it's also making sure that during that time that you have set aside for studying, that is all that you are doing. Another mistake when it comes to the LSAT is selling yourself short and assuming that you can't get into a school unless your score is at or above a school's median. And so every law school has median. So let's say that you are trying to go to a school with a median of a 164. Oftentimes, students of color, underrepresented, low-income students think that the only way they are going to get into a school is if they have that school's median, when that's not the case. A median is simply the number where, half the students scored above it that got in, half the students that got in scored below it. Similar with the 25th percentile, 75% of the students that got in scored above that number, 25% of students that got in scored below that number. And so a median isn't necessarily the same as the number that you need in order to get into a law school. And so as you're preparing for the LSAT exam, of course, your goal is always to get the median, because more scholarship money is tied to having, numbers that are at a school's median. But in terms of getting into a school itself, there is usually a range of numbers that can get a student into a school. So if a school has a median of a 165, it possibly is possible for you to get into a school with a 155. And so there are some tools that can kind of help you gauge what score you really need to have in order to get into a school. And so I'm going to just tell you what some of those tools are really quickly. And so one tool that I really like is 7sage.com in their law school predictor. And so the way that this site works is you essentially plug in what your LSAT score is. If you're still in the practice phase, what, your most frequent diagnostic exam or practice test score is, your LSAT calculated GPA, and you click the box that says URM, because that stands for underrepresented minority. And then you click the box, the drop down box, and you select what month you plan on applying in. So if you apply in October, your odds are possibly higher than if you apply in, say, March, because it's later in the cycle. But then you click the button predict. For our hypothetical person here, they have an LSAT score of a 164 and a cash GPA of a 3.5. using the LSAC predictor or the 7-stage law school predictor, however, what you will find out is somebody like this, even though, their GPA and LSAT score are below the school's median, and for New York University, specifically NYU, even though their LSAT score and GPA are below that median, they have a 26% chance of getting in, according to this predictor. Of course, this predictor is an imperfect tool, but it is a tool. But that's a really good odd, honestly, to have numbers that are below a school's median, both numbers, several points below a school's median, and to have a 1 in 4 chance of getting in. And so I recommend using tools like 7-Stages Law School Predictor to try to gauge, what your odds may be at specific schools. Another really good tool to use, and I will say that Neena will be sharing a copy of these slides after the point, so don't feel stressed out about keeping up or trying to write everything down. But another good school to use is LSAC's website. There is a function where you can pick on a box that says choosing a law school, then go to ABA approved law schools, visit all law schools, and then you can select the specific law school and scroll down to the bottom of their applicant profile, or the bottom of their school profile. And what will happen is some schools will have this applicant profile listed. So I used to work at UCLA, and a few months ago, I went on lsac.org and took this screenshot of their applicant profile. The way these profiles work is essentially you get to plug in what your LSAT score and what your GPA is, and you get to gauge what your odds are of being admitted to the school based on how students did last year that applied with those numbers. So, for example, this hypothetical candidate with a 165 and a 3.5 GPA, if they were to apply in the cycle when I pulled this snapshot, what they would learn is that in the year prior, 442 students got applied with those numbers, or numbers within that range, and 32 got in. And so UCLA's median LSAT score at the time was a 169 and a 3.79. And so this is somebody with a 165 and a 3.5. And what you see is that they have a chance of possibly getting into the law school. You can even figure out, what is probably the lowest score that you can get and have a fighting chance of getting into the law school. So here you see that, somebody with a 152 or 154, somewhere in that range, applied and got into the school in a past cycle. So, the median are 137 students applied with that number, only one got in, but one means that if you have a number within that range, you possibly could get in. The same goes for the realm or the line above it. So with a 155 to a 159, even though the median LSAT score was a 169, 6 students got in with scores in that range. So that's another way to kind of guess what type of score you actually need to get into a school. For all schools, the applicant profile grid does not look the same. And so this applicant profile grid I pulled a few months ago from the University of Alabama, which is where Neena and I graduated from. And what they have instead is, for somebody with a 165 through a 169 and a 3.5 GPA, what they will say is that you have a good possibility of getting in. These light blue bars show that you have a possibility of getting in, and the dark blue bars mean that it's unlikely that you will get in. But this also gives you a way of kind of gauging whether or not your scores might be able to give you a fighting chance at a specific school. So these are 3 tools that I definitely recommend that you use. But moving forward, so I just mentioned that the last mistake is thinking that you have to have a school's median to get into a school. And I highlighted how you can figure out, what that number is, minimum number that you definitely want to fight for in order to have a fighting chance for whatever school. However, the next mistake is only focusing on the score that you need to be admitted to a school. And so while the tools that I just gave you are great, going back to something I said earlier, scholarship dollars are usually attached to your LSAT score and GPA. And so a higher LSAT score, a higher GPA, especially if you have those median numbers, often means more scholarship money. There are going to be some schools that give you more scholarship money than, your counterparts, simply in part because you are underrepresented minority, but you often will get more money, even despite that, if your LSAT score is higher. So that's something to keep in mind as well. That's one mistake that I regret, is only thinking about what score I need to get into law school when I was applying for law school, and not thinking about, how having a higher LSAT score and studying more could have led to more scholarship money. Another LSAT mistake is being afraid or unwilling to retake the LSAT. And so even though I mentioned on the first slide that you should not take the LSAT cold turkey for various reasons, if you do sit for the LSAT after preparing and you don't do as well as you thought you could, if your score isn't, representative of how you were scoring on practice tests, or if you had a, cruddy day, maybe something unfortunate happened, right before taking the exam or days leading up to exam, it is okay to retake the LSAT exam. I know that it's not fun to retake the LSAT exam, but it is not uncommon for schools to often receive applications from applicants that have taken the exam 3 or 4 times. If you get into 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, it may be a bit more of a red flag, and you are kind of delving closer to the realm of possibility that your LSAT scores are going to be average instead of your highest score being taken into consideration. But if you take the exam 3 or 4 times, more likely than not, most schools are going to put the most weight on your highest LSAT score. Another LSAT mistake, our final LSAT mistake, is not utilizing tutors, study buddies, or whatever resources and study methods work best for you. Oftentimes, students of color, underrepresented first-generation students, feel like they have to do things alone, that they are in it alone, that they don't have resources, they don't have support. And so I definitely recommend that whatever study method works best for you, whether that is self-study or whether that is watching YouTube videos or whether that is, doing some online courses, that you find a method that works well for you and that you do it. If you need somebody to hold you accountable, talk to other people to get into study groups, but definitely don't be afraid of, being creative when it comes to studying for the exam. If working with other people or studying with other people doesn't work for you, feel free to, study alone. So just making sure that you are doing whatever is the best thing for you to do in terms of preparing for the exam, and not thinking that there is a one model that fits everyone is really important to know. And so when it comes to self-prep, there are lots of resources out there that you can use. A few years ago, I ran across an article that basically was entitled "The 6 Best LSAT Prep Books According to Tutors and Lawyers." And on the screen, you see what those 6 prep books were. My sense is that these are prep books that you probably still can get access to, that, they probably have more recent editions now. So instead of the 2019 edition, they likely have a 2021, if not a 2022 edition already. But these are books that, you might want to consider if you're trying to figure out what prep materials to use to prepare for the LSAT. And again, Neena will give you a copy of this presentation, so you will have, this picture so that you can go out and find the books if you would like. At the time that the article was written, I did look up all the books on Amazon to see how much they cost. And all 6 books together, I believe, were somewhere between $200 to $250 combined. So that is an option in terms of self-study. Other options out there in terms of preparing for the LSAT include virtual tutors, virtual prep resources, and YouTube. And so I've talked to clients, I've kind of followed certain pages on Instagram. And so these are just a few of the resources that I know exist out there in terms of LSAT prep. Khan Academy is an entity that LSAC partners with directly. And so they are somebody that provides, practice test drilling, I understand. And they may be a resource that might be useful for you. Everybody, for everybody, Khan Academy may not be the best thing, but for a lot of people, it may be a really good tool. I follow an account on Instagram called Legally Lost, and she did a post once raving or talking about all the different prep materials or prep courses that she tried to use, and talked about which one she felt was the best. LSAT Demon is what she landed on and what she recommended to others. So I list that here. And on the slides, you'll see her explanation for why she felt that that was the best prep course. There are 2 accounts on Instagram that I like following that both do virtual tutoring. So the Diversity Advocate and LSAT Tutoring, those are accounts probably worth following on Instagram and maybe checking out. They have pretty good reviews in terms of what customers have said. And so they might be resources for you. I have a client that got into St. Louis, law school at St. Louis, and he told me that LSAT Unplugged is a YouTube channel that he really utilized heavily that helped him understand the exam a lot. And so that's a resource that I recommend to people based on his own experience. And also that same client told me that LSAC's own official prep materials were really useful for him as well. And so lsac.org does have some materials. You can subscribe to get these materials and pay about $100, or you can try out the free option of their official LSAT prep. And so those are definitely things that my client has recommended. And so I like to spread the word or pass on to other people. But in terms of preparing for the LSAT, just know that there are resources out there, and that you are not just limited to in-person classes that cost thousands of dollars. And that is actually the gist of my tips about LSAT prep. And so I do want to do a shameless plug and just remind you all about my website. So andersonadmissions.com. Definitely check it out if you ever need help with any of the things that Neena shared earlier that I do. You can always use the coupon code Lost Sisters to get 20% off any of my services. And please, please, please follow me on Instagram. And also, if you ever need to contact me or you have any questions, my email address is simple. It's askakiesha@gmail.com. So definitely feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, especially about this presentation or anything else. And I'm happy to assist. Thank you so much for y'all's time.
Awesome. Thank you, Akiesha. It is now time for me to introduce my next panelist, which will be Antonisha Baker. And Antonisha, I did get your bio just now. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, y'all, but I will send it to you. I'll read the first part, first plug, and then I'll let Antonisha really take over. Attorney Antonisha is the owner of the managing attorney of the law office of Antonisha Lenice Baker, LLC, located in Plantation, Florida. Attorney Baker is a passionate advocate for her clients, and her mission is to help creative people fulfill their passions with a secure legal foundation. Her practice areas include intellectual property, entertainment, and business transactions. She has a niche focus in the trademark and fashion law. Her experience includes filing federal copyright and trademark registration applications, forming business entities, and drafting various entertainment and intellectual property agreements. So without further ado, Anthonysha, I believe you should be able, yeah. Are you showing a presentation, or is it just gonna be you, girl?
It's just gonna be me, you guys.
Hey, all right. So let's change it to the kitchen, and y'all in the kitchen with Antonisha. I think you can still see Akiesha, so you're just gonna have Akiesha in there with you, trying to figure out how you fix that, but I don't know. I don't know how to do it. Wait. Yes, I can. Boom. Now it's just you, girl.
Okay.
Hey. Okay. Wait. I'm gonna stop the recording and start it for you.
Okay.
And then wait, don't do that because it's going on my cloud, and I just learned that Zoom charges you for the cloud. So now you good.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Neena, for the introduction. As she mentioned, I do own my own law firm here in South Florida. What I'm going to talk to you all about is, after you've used Akiesha's great tips on how to excel on the LSAT, once you get into law school, for those of you that are already law students, how do you excel in law school on your own terms? And I know that a lot of times when we're in law school, for those of us, that have already been there or that are currently there, they kind of lay out a roadmap that's somewhat standard, and they try to make it sound like it's going to be right for every student, and it's not. You have to tailor your law school experience to what works for you. I do have experience in academia as well. I was the Assistant Director of Professional Development and Experiential Learning at Ave Maria School of Law in Ave Maria, Florida, which is just a little bit south of Naples. During my time there, I was also a professor, and so I taught the externship program. So a lot of what I taught my students was how to apply what they're learning in the classroom to the workspace. So I constantly encourage my students to get as much practical experience as they possibly could. A lot of what you all will learn in law school is very theoretical, it's very textbook based. However, what you need in order to be a successful attorney, you need those practical skills as well. So, and what I tell a lot of people, especially law students, especially when I'm dealing with my 1Ls, is, don't leave your common sense at the door. Don't leave your street smarts at the door. You need all of that in order to excel in law school. It's not just so much what you can memorize and regurgitate on an exam. when you are coming into law school, I think for me, as I think back to my law school experience, which was quite a few years ago now, is the importance of having a very, very tight, small group of students that I really connected with. And we got each other through, it was about 4 of us. And we got each other through from 1L year all the way to graduation. And we're still very, very close now. And why I would recommend finding that really close group of students to bond with is because not only do those students typically have the same courses as you, or even if they're pursuing different paths, nobody understands the law school experience like those that are sitting right in the classroom with you, or from my perspective and Neena's and Akiesha's, we've done it. So law school is one of those things where you don't quite understand it unless you've done it. This is an experience like no other. It is very rigorous in terms of academics, but the law school curriculum is set up in 3 different phases, and it is gonna test you mentally. It really, really is. It's more than what's just in the books, but it tests your strength on so many different levels. And I used to tell my students, 1L year, you know, we kind of scare you to death. 2L year, we work you to death. 3L year, we're gonna, 3L year, we're gonna bore you to death. And the reason why it's set up that way is because 1L year, everything is unfamiliar. This is nothing like what you've done in undergrad. We're reshaping your mind. Law school is to teach you how to think. A lot of people, you know, come to law school and they feel like, oh, it's supposed to prepare me for the bar, or you're supposed to graduate law school and be ready to practice law right out the gate. That's not always the case. That's where your internships and your practical experience come in terms of getting you ready to practice or figuring out what it is that you really like. But the curriculum in law school is to reshape your mind and train you on how to think like an attorney. And so that 1L year, that's why there's so much. And for those of you that have not sat in on a law school class, that's one thing I definitely recommend. You can do it even before you go to law school or you apply to go to law school. I remember a lot of times we would have visiting students come in to the law school that I attended, and even when I worked as an administrator, I was happy to bring visiting law students in, visiting prospective students in. And I had a relationship with certain professors that would let a student sit in, especially on a 1L class, just to see what that atmosphere is like. There's going to be experiences where, it's not so much the professor standing in front of you just regurgitating facts and scenarios from cases. They want you to be involved. So there's a bit of a Socratic method, or what we come to know as cold calling. They're going to call on you. And I remember having 1L students that would be so nervous about that. And I was very nervous about it when I was a 1L. It just so happened when my civil procedure class was the first law school class I had ever taken. It was at the very beginning of the day. And I remember the dean of the law school taught that class. And I was so scared. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to sound, like I don't know what I'm talking about, or I don't want to come off scared or nervous. And I remember talking to the dean at dinner, like the night before, and he was like, what's something that you're the most apprehensive about as a 1L in law school? And I told him, I was like, cold calling. I was like, I remember I seen it on the movies and things like that. And I was like, it seems so intimidating. I was like, I am afraid of that first cold call. And he just nodded and smiled. And the next day, what did he do? He cold called me to get me prepared. And he kind of eased me into it. And then from that point forward, there were certain questions that he would ask in class, and he would always throw it my way. And we kind of knew it was coming. And from that point on, it made me a lot more relaxed, to where when I would get called on in other classes, I wouldn't be so afraid to not know the answer, or, to speak up or raise my hand, or, say certain things and interact in class, because I was eased into the process. So something that I would definitely recommend for incoming first year law students, or those of you that are already in law school, is to get yourself comfortable with being uncomfortable. Okay, a lot of what we do, remember, this is the practice of law. You don't become good at it without some practice. So get comfortable being uncomfortable. There's going to be so many new things coming at you, especially as a law student and as what we refer to as a baby lawyer, when you're just in your first few years of practicing, until you got into the point where you've done things a lot of times, or you're an expert in your practice area. And even then, the law changes constantly. So with that, you have to be able to shift very, very quickly. You got to be able to think on your feet, especially for those of you that want to become litigators and you're going to be in the courtroom. A lot of that is being quick on your feet. So when you're reading case law or when you're prepping yourself for class, think about the different things that somebody may ask you about those cases and how would you respond? Explain the cases. If you're sitting at home and you're doing your reading, get your roommate or, your spouse or your child and break that case down and explain it to them. It gets you more comfortable talking on the spot. I would also recommend taking improv classes. That was something that I actually had the experience to do in undergrad, and then I taught some improv classes while I was in law school because I have a background in musical theater. So I was already familiar with that, with having an acting background. But improv really, really helps you shake all of those nerves. And again, we want you to get comfortable being uncomfortable. That way you become a pro when it comes to public speaking, when it comes to thinking quick on your feet. And these are skills that apply not only in the academic setting in law school, but you will use it throughout your course of life and in everything that you're doing. Now, that's my tidbit for the incoming 1L student. Now, let's say you're in your second year of law school. As a 2L, coming into 2L year, I think something that shocked me when I was working in the law school from the administrative perspective, because I'm actually, behind the scenes now teaching courses and running the law school on a day-to-day. Something that shocked me when I would interact with students and they would have to come meet with me was that I had upperclassmen who had not taken advantage of internship and externship opportunities. And it wasn't just the, 2L in their fall semester. It's, if you didn't get the chance to do an internship in your first summer, okay, we got a lot of time to catch up. But sometimes I would have students that are 3Ls. They're in their final year of law school and they still have not taken advantage of the opportunity to do an internship or an externship or shadow an attorney in a practice area that they think they're interested in. I cannot stress enough how important that experiential component is for upperclassmen. You can take on an internship or an externship as early as your first summer. So you'll finish your first year of law school. In that first year of law school, you want to make sure that you do the very best that you can. And I'm not saying that you have to have the highest GPA to get the good jobs, because you don't. I didn't have it. What I did have was tenacity. I knew what it was that I thought I was interested in terms of practicing law, or I knew, I want to see what it's like to actually run a law firm. And so for me, because I had a business background from undergrad, I wanted to see how law firms actually run, in which case it appealed more to me for me to work in a smaller firm. Because when you go to a small firm, you're going to get that exposure as to how the firm is run from top to bottom. And in a lot of cases, they kind of throw you into the fire, especially if you're working with a solo practitioner, because there's so much to do and there's not a lot of manpower. So you're going to see how the law firm is operating on a bunch of different spectrums. If you don't have, if you don't necessarily think that you want to start your own law firm, or you're not really that interested in the business side, but more so, I want to learn this practice area. I want to learn what goes on when they're prepping for trials and things like that. Maybe a bigger firm or a mid-sized firm that specializes in a certain area of law that you think you might be interested in would be a better component for you. But you need to take advantage of internship and externship opportunities. The difference between an internship and an externships give you academic credit. So I ran an externship program, meaning that my students got academic credit. They took a course at night with me when they would leave their their jobs. I would help them get the job, and then they come to my course once a week in the evening for about 2 hours. And we would talk about the things that they were experiencing at work. They would be able to ask me questions. And unlike a regular class, we weren't necessarily breaking down case law. I was not expecting them to brief cases and things of that nature. What I want to know is, what are you doing in the office? How is that impacting you? And how are the things that you learned in those other theoretical classes, how is it different than what you're seeing in practice? Because a lot of times in what a lot of, those theoretical professors, those professors teaching you your constitutional law and your civil procedure, some of them don't point out that when you're actually applying these things, or how the lawyers actually use all of this information, it's actually a bit different than how they teach it. But you don't know that until you take the opportunity to get the experience and work with other attorneys. If you are not in law school yet and you feel like, I'm not even in law school yet, this doesn't apply to me. It does, because there are students, I remember as a law clerk, I had an intern under me. This young man, and he's a stellar guy. He's now a graduate of Notre Dame. And he came in and he interned under me and my mentor, who was the supervising litigation attorney of the firm, and this was in Atlanta. He was a high school junior, and he wanted to see if he really would think that he would like the day-to-day of being an attorney. So my mentor offered him an internship for the summer where he worked under me. So he would help me prep for trials. He would help me go through discovery. He would come to court with us. He would, do a lot of filings and things like that. We showed him firsthand what this actually looks like before he made the investment and the time to take the LSAT or to go to law school. Because some people, and myself included, I did not have that experience before I went to law school. I had never shadowed an attorney. I did not, I didn't apply for internships at a law firm or anything like that when I was, in high school or, at starting undergrad or things of that nature. He was ahead of the curve. But what I will say for students that are thinking about going to law school, maybe you've taken the LSAT but you're not in law school yet, shadow an attorney, apply for an internship with an attorney. There are things that we can get you to help us with, even if you're not in law school yet. So it's never too early to try to get the practical experience. And I cannot stress how important that is, because I remember, and this is a bit of my testimony, which is why I say you can excel in law school on your own terms. I did not have, the A GPA coming out of law school. It wasn't, super low, but it wasn't extremely high. And, I was not necessarily interested in going into big law, or some of those opportunities were not available to me, according to the administrators of my law school. I was actually told that, because your GPA is this or your course is that, it's not very likely that you're going to excel on the bar exam. Now, when Neena introduced me, she let you know that I am a practicing attorney, which means I passed that bar exam regardless of what they said. And I have my own law firm. I was also told that I would not be able to come out of law school and go right into being in-house counsel at a major company. Also not true. One of my first job experiences was I was the youngest. I worked my way up to become the youngest in-house trademark attorney for a global pharmaceutical branding company. I ran 15 global offices. Now, how did I do that? My network in law school, I knew I didn't have the highest grades, but what I did have was personality. And I made sure that I spoke to attorneys that were doing what I wanted to do. I don't really say that I network, I build relationships. You never know what somebody can do for you and what you can do for them. So even if there's an attorney or there is a law professor or an upperclassman student and you see what they're doing and it piques your interest, rather than going and asking them for something, ask them what you can do for them. If you see an article that you think they'd like to read, send it to them. Foster those relationships early, because those relationships helped me land just about every job that I had, regardless of what my school administrators were saying, regardless of what the LSAT score was, regardless of what that GPA was. Relationships are key in our profession, and I'm going to leave you with that. So the way to excel in law school is to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Take advantage of experiential opportunities. Of course, you're going to study and do the absolute best that you can, but do not let that be your deciding factor, and build those relationships. And you can start today by building the relationships with myself, with Neena, with Akiesha. We are resources here for you. So please take advantage of that. And I will make sure that I provide my information after the Q&A so that way you all can keep in contact with me. I want to hear your success stories in the near future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Antonisha. Wasn't she so great, y'all? Like, she was like, I would have let her have more time, but for some reason, I wanted to tell y'all a little bit of something about failing the bar. So I'm not really gonna read my own. I just feel like it's weird for me to read my own thing, but let me turn my camera on. And I don't know how to do this now. So let's see, I'm gonna do the speaker, stop, and then immersive again, kitchen, start. And can I close this? Yes. Awesome. So if y'all know me, y'all know that I'm really a big person or big proponent of having a safe space. The biggest thing that I want you guys to hear from me, and before I start, I want to ask you guys via a poll the things that you're worried about, because you guys, we worry. So I want you guys to take this second to vote on this poll and let me know what the thing that you're worried about. So is it your LSAT score? Is it designing your law school journey, the infamous bar, or not knowing how to practice law? So take a second, fill this out. There's about 5 of you. My co-hosts, you can't participate, but my other people, you guys can participate. So definitely vote on this poll for me. So you should see a prompt telling you to answer the poll. I'll give you guys some time to answer that poll while I talk, but I want some insights by the end of this. So the first thing that you heard about was the LSAT. That was not my story. I did not have a good LSAT score. And I was one of those people who did not take it again, as Akiesha mentioned. The other part, designing your law school journey, as you heard Antonisha mention, it is very, very important for you to be able to design something that is yours and yours alone. And Antonisha really did tell all the people who told her what she couldn't do and reinvent herself after that. So I know that I was told I shouldn't even apply to law school with my LSAT score, and I did, and I got in. So ha on them, and kudos to me for not letting that be the determining factor about whether or not I would go. And a lot of people seem to be worried about the LSAT score. And I want you guys to know that Akiesha is great. So definitely reach out to her for the resources she mentioned. But the LSAT score is one exam for the rest of your life. It will not matter in 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years for you. So if that is the 3 numbers that is keeping you from applying to law school, I want you to have permission from me right now to put it down. okay? It's not going to determine your worth. It's not going to determine your value. And more than that, it's not going to determine whether or not you are successful. I think that success is very people driven. So if you want to be successful, you can be successful. I don't think that there's a limit. I don't think anyone determines our success opportunities, but I do think that every now and then, we have our own insecurities. I've had my insecurities in law school. Mine was being the first in my family to practice law. And I didn't know what I was doing. I really didn't. I was very confused and I didn't know that I was going in the right path at all. In fact, I don't think I ever really had confirmation I was going in the right path. And I just hoped that I would do well. But one thing that you heard that was common in both Akiesha's story and Antonisha's story is that you endure regardless. So enduring regardless is something that you can keep close to your vest. It's something that will empower you. So those who are out there worried about designing your law journey, and there's one more person that participated. I don't know who that person is, but please do so. But worrying about the things that are most important to you and allowing yourself to be able to answer what it is that you need requires you to be aware that that's how you are defining yourself right now. Maybe you're defining yourself by being successful in law school. I was as unsuccessful in law school as they can get. I was great in serving the community. I was ordered Samaritan in my class. I got 3L with the most pro bono and community service hours. I got the public interest certificate. So by my count, I was great because I did what I wanted to do. But by the law school's count, I was the bottom 50%. I didn't join a journal. And funny enough, the person who actually published my first academic paper is Akiesha. She actually had the privilege of being the editor-in-chief of the Southern Black Law Students Association Law Journal. And she published a paper that is cited, I think, by somebody in Cardozo Law Review. Like they cited my take on immutable characteristics from a different perspective and how it's kind of been changed and altered. But she was able to publish that. And I'm looking back on it and seeing my actual article, complimented by somebody in Cardozo, and that's usually a more prestigious Cardozo Law Review is a more prestigious law review. So every law journal that you publish in is a great opportunity. But just to see those things, is really important. So I don't know who's not participating in the poll, but that's okay. But this is the results, y'all. So you guys can see where you guys stand. You have an LSAT score. You have designing your law journey in the infamous bar, and nobody seems to be worried about how to practice law. And that's the part that I want you guys to really get in. And I didn't plan this, right? I didn't tell y'all where to pick, but no one seems to be worried about how to practice law. Funny enough, that is actually what we as lawyers struggle with the most is learning how to practice law, especially learning how to practice it with grace, understanding, and more than that, just love in general for the people that we are serving. So if I'm serving anybody, I should be able to have the ability to make that connection. And a lot of times us as lawyers, we are worried about that particular thing. And I bet you didn't know that we as lawyers are worried about that. So I do have a quick, it's not very long, thing that I want to show you guys. And then after that, you guys are welcome to be like, Neena, stop talking to me, girl. But we're going to leave the immersive experience and we're just going to have a quick conversation. I made this when I first published Dear Future Lawyer. A lot of y'all probably know me from Dear Future Lawyer. A lot of y'all have even told me you got my book, and one, thank you. And two, y'all, it was all about writing a letter. So I wrote a letter to myself for a future me, funny enough, while I was in law school. And every year I wrote that letter until I graduated from law school and turned it into a book. So again, I'm not saying this because I don't think that it's possible for you to accomplish your dreams. I'm saying this because I know you can accomplish your dreams because I didn't even know I dreamed of writing a book. Okay. So my brand is called, the Last brand. And my presentation is So You Want to Last. if you guys can see, I don't know if you can see at the very top, but that's the Magic City Bar Association, which is the only scholarship I received after I lost my law school scholarship. After you see me over there, yeah, I'm getting this scholarship. Okay. You have to decide if you want to finish first or last. In my scenario, I was always finishing last, and I couldn't figure out why I was finishing last. I was feeling really down on myself. And so I said, well, there comes a time in my life where I have to decide what finishing last really means. Okay. So, first, a little bit about me. I'm 29 years old. I used to be a summer camp counselor at the Shades Valley YMCA, if you're from Birmingham. I'm a scholar, I'm a traveler, a CEO, a mentor, a lawyer, an author, a speaker, a truth teller, a helper, a sister, a daughter, and a friend. One thing you do not see me say is that I'm a failure, because I will not use that to define who I am anymore. I failed at something, but I am not a failure. There's a very big distinction in failing at something and being a failure. Failure means that there is no hope, no opportunity for growth. And I honestly just don't believe that. That's why I reinvented the word last to mean lawyer, author, speaker, truth. All right. A lot of times, confidence and discipline overlap with the word failing. So if you are confident, then you have failed. If you are disciplined, then you have failed. Because you failed, you learned both of those areas. Okay. They want to get their brand. They want to find ways to build confidence through failure. You got to have confidence, you got to have discipline, and the overlapping between both of them is failure. I became more confident after I failed. I know that's crazy, but I became more confident because I knew that I would get it right, or I'd figure it out. And when you hit your head, that's actually when you learn the most. Just going to the Olympics, okay? Because I work for the World Games now, so I didn't plan this, didn't know I was going to work for the World Games, but I love this quote. Just going to the Olympics would be amazing. I could finish last and it would still be an amazing experience. Just going to take the L.S.A.T, it's an amazing experience. Even if you don't have the highest score, you can still get into law school, can still be successful. In fact, I have been doing a poll, and I think it's going to end on Monday or Tuesday, and about 12 people, I asked if they had failed the bar and still became a lawyer. All 12 people who voted on the poll on LinkedIn have all failed the bar and still became a lawyer. So if you think failing the bar means that you can't become a lawyer, it's absolutely not true. You can become a lawyer. There's nothing holding you back. And that's the really, really big thing about what you're doing right now, is that failure is not a defining moment. My brand, lawyer, author, speaker, truth, the last brand, being willing to learn something new, serving others. What we're doing right now, Akiesha, Antonisha, they are taking time out of their very, very busy schedules to give you a chance to learn something and serve and give back, okay? Being an author, writing from your heart and passion, investing well, all those activities that I have y'all do if you guys are in my group are supposed to really get you writing about your story, get you talking about your experience. Speaking, I give you opportunities to come speak. Erica will be speaking to y'all next month. But being willing to fail horribly. My first speaking experience, I didn't know what I was doing, but it worked out. But I didn't know what I was doing. I was completely confused. Finding mentors. So if you want to redefine your last place, you want to redefine failures, finding mentors, doing something bad and being okay with it is a good thing. And then lastly, truth, specialize. And I want you to stand firm in a strong moral code and being decent. And what I mean by that is your words have power. And every time you use them, if you're not using them to edify, encourage, or empower, then you have lost the point of the group, the one that I created, and then the ones that you are creating around you, because edification, empowerment, and encouragement are all things that will bring people to life. Critique, harm, and destructive behaviors will tear people down. And our goal is not to do that. And it is very easy when you have encountered failure, like you or I have, to consider telling people how you feel. And sometimes even when you tell them how you feel, it doesn't make you feel any better. It feels good to get it out, but then you're still upset. All right. So if this sounds too easy, all right, because these are just the steps. Those are the only steps that you guys really need to follow. You just have to jump into failure thinking that is the path towards a confident, more disciplined you. Even if you don't know, losing is something that's an ultimate win, is the way to keep from getting too full of ourselves. When I was in law school, I was going to hit everything out of the park, y'all. I was going to hit everything out of the park. Do y'all hear me? I was just all up in my head, okay? But I want you to ask yourself about the last time you failed. I want you to write down those feelings and write down how it changed you for the better, okay? Maybe it opened a door. Maybe it forced you to pause. I do this technique with my actual business clients because, like Antonisha, I do trademark law, I do copyright law, I do business development and formations. I also do criminal law, family law, and probate law, you know, when I got to pay the bills. But I like criminal law and I like business, trademark, IP law. Those are my two favorite areas. The other areas I do because I'm still passionate about working with kids. So that's why I do family law in the area of custody and guardian ad litem, where I work with the courts on getting the kids back. All right. Now, after you guys have written down this stuff, I hope y'all wrote this down. I hope y'all writing this down. Write down that time that you failed and how it changed you for the better. What did it open? Breathe. Feel that hard stuff. Okay. And my favorite phrase is God's got it. Okay. If you don't have the same God I have, that's okay. Just remember that something, okay, maybe it's just you holding you, but you got you. You just got to feel it. You can't not feel the hard things. And I know that sometimes we don't like feeling hard emotions, but we must in order to be our best and brightest selves. Okay. So keep that in mind. And then, of course, if you want to be the L.A.S.T brand, or you want to be a part of something that inspires people, you have to be a truth teller. You got to be unafraid and unbothered to tell somebody what you went through to get to where you are now. It means being vulnerable, security for those who come to you and who seek you out. Do you guys know I am infamous, and Akiesha will tell you I have like a bajillion mentees. They all come to me. I think one of my mentees is on here right now. Hey, Kayla. But I have like a bajillion mentees. Oh, hey, and Eric on here too. But I have a bajillion mentees. The reason why is that when people come to me and they seek me out for help, I need to help them. I don't know why. It's just a pressing need inside of me to talk about what I've gone through to maybe help reorient somebody. So you can use your story powerfully and create a good last impression. All right. So I just want to thank you for your time for this little presentation I did. But more than that, I want you guys to really think about what you guys have learned. So I am going to take everybody off of mute, and you are going to be able to start your video, and I'm going to put us all in a immersive classroom. So I just want you guys to be able, we got more people, so I'm going to have to put you guys in the auditorium. So everybody should be able to come off, and I should see your faces. Let me see your faces. Let me see your faces. It's only fun if I can see your faces. Yeah. All right. So for this last exercise, guys, I hope that you guys have been through good, bad, and in between, but I hope that you've learned so much. So I want you guys to have the time to talk to the speakers. We have only 3 minutes. On that last minute, I want you guys to take the time for mindfulness and meditation. So we will have a quiet minute at the very last minute. So I'm going to lead y'all talk to the speakers, and speakers, I'm going to let y'all talk to the people. So y'all give the speakers feedback because they need it. Hey, Erica, how you doing, girl?
Hey.
And the other folks, y'all come off mute, and I want to see your faces. Thank you. Please, you know, I only get to talk to y'all so many times a month. Awesome. Go ahead, Erica. Take it away.
All right. So I wanted to say thank you, ladies, for all the advice that you give and for taking the time out of your busy day. One question that I had, so I'm in the process of studying for the LSAT, and a question that I have is, as far as staying consistent, do you have any tips on, like, you know, staying consistent, creating a consistent study regimen, especially if you're doing it like a self-study thing?
Yeah, I recommend a few things. So one is having somebody to help keep you accountable. So if you don't have a study buddy, maybe it's your mom or your cousin or somebody who, you know, make sure that from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. or whenever you're supposed to be studying, that you actually start studying and you end studying, within that window. And then another thing, I recommend having a set place that you go to study. So perhaps a local, I know COVID has kind of screwed things up, but like a local library, or maybe instead of your bedroom, the dining room, but like a set place that is for studying, so that way your mind is in the mode of, not only is this a time that I've set aside for studying, but I'm in my studying place and I'm in my zone. But those are two things that I think can help with consistency, like really having an accountability buddy, and then also making sure that you have like a set place that you're going to study and staying there during your hours.
Yeah, thank you. Problem.
My tip for you would be to be realistic about how much you can study per day. So sometimes we get overzealous and it's like, oh, I'm going to get off of work and get home by 6 and then I'm going to study until midnight every night. If that's not realistic for you, if you can only do, 2 hours each day, and maybe you have a certain day on the weekend, like Saturdays is your rest day. So, maybe map out most of your study time for that day when you have the most free time. That way you can really, really focus, but being realistic with yourself about what your study schedule actually looks like, because then you may need to realign when you actually sit for the test. If you don't have that much study time, maybe you don't want to take the test that's coming up super close. Maybe you want to schedule yourself for a future test or something of that nature.
Mm-hmm. I agree with both of y'all. I don't have anything to add. I had to reschedule from October to December because I wasn't ready. Bye, Akiesha. All right. Anybody else?
I just wanted to get some encouragement. I appreciate you guys speaking about being below the median when you're applying and just not selling yourself short. But I've taken the LSAT. This will probably be 3 times, and I keep scoring within the range of, my under the median, basically. And so I just wanted to get a little encouragement, motivation to be consistent with my studies. So that, as well as your points that you just made about being consistent and having a designated place to study, it was really helpful for me.
Awesome. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Crystal. Thank you for doing this. I really wanted to talk a little bit more, or wanted to ask you a little bit more about the part of the survey with not knowing how to practice law.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, I felt when I look at all of the options, I felt more inclined to getting to that point. And I also feel like that'll come with practice.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't really an area where I felt most worried about. I felt like at some point I'm gonna get into the rhythm of that. But if I can't even get to practicing law, then I can't really be worried about it, because I'll never reach that line if I don't pass the bar, or if I don't get through the LSAT to get into law school. So since I'm not there and it looks like something that's all the way over the horizon for me right now, like, can you share a little bit more about the concerns that may be beyond taking the bar in terms of not knowing how to practice law?
Yeah, I'm gonna let Antonisha start and then I'll finish, because I know Antonisha, I don't know if you've been practicing longer than I have, but I think so. You've been professor of some things. So I'm gonna let Antonisha teach us first, and then I'll take the end on that, because I wish I had known about practicing law before, so I would have structured my law school experience a lot differently had I even thought that was a possibility for me.
Right. Just something that I heard you mention of saying, you used the word never. And you were saying, I'm not there yet. It may never be over the horizon. Take that out of your vocabulary. You will get there. You will. You absolutely will. Okay. If that's what you want, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when is the right time for you. Okay. So my tidbit to you on knowing, or, how to navigate practicing law. You are not going to be perfect at it. I know people who graduated at the top of their class, and I came out of a T20 law school. And they went into big firms. They had no clue what they were doing. Okay. And that is perfectly fine. This is the practice of law. You're going to learn as you go. What I recommend is, like I mentioned before, those internships and finding a mentor. Neena mentioned how she mentors so many people and she has a practice of her own. She can help you, and just like I have a practice of my own, we can help you figure out the practice of law because we're doing it every single day. Even if it's as simple as you coming on, administratively to help respond to some emails or take some intake calls, that's all a part of the practice of law, all of it. So it's just putting yourself out there to be willing to do it. That's it. And you'll learn how to research, you'll learn how to write. All of that stuff is going to come with time.
And just to give you a different version, I wasn't going to practice law. I was going to be a federal public defender. That was my goal after law school. And then when I tried to become a federal public defender or just a regular public defender, I encountered a lot of turbulence. Couldn't find a job. I had to pay my healthcare bills. And so finally, I just said, well, it would be more that I could make if I just did it on my own. So I literally found a How to Start a Law Practice for Dummies book. I read the thing from cover to cover at a FedEx one night. And I read, okay, and this is what a lot of people use to sell their How to Start a Law Firm courses, is that, big associates, the big firms make a fraction of what the big partner brings in. So a client will pay $250 per hour. The associate gets paid $25 per hour for the same client, and the law firm pockets the rest. And I was like, wait, no, I'm not going to get paid no fraction of what nothing. I just take the full $250 per hour and get paid that instead of waiting for my law firm to decide to give me a raise. I give myself a raise. Next year I'll be $350. So I started off with $150 an hour, raised it to $200, raised it to $250. I'm at $350 per hour. And when I got trials and contested cases, it's $500 per hour. So I believe, and I firmly think that it's important for you to understand that you do not have to limit yourself to just finding a job. And there is something called the Great Resignation happening right now. People are resigning all over the world because of the poor or the piss poor treatment of people. And I just want to reiterate that, the piss poor treatment of people, because we have been treated poorly for a very long time. Y'all, I don't know if y'all know this, but jobs have not been giving you your flowers while you at the job. They want to give you your flowers now because they don't want to lose their minority talent where they can get their minority funding. But that's not your job. Your job is to be happy. I woke up today for the first time and didn't have nobody calling me talking about where my stuff at. I woke up yesterday and my first appointment for the day was at 4 p.m. You hear me? 4 p.m. And that appointment was a mentoring, encouraging appointment. I set my client meetings for 2 days a week, and they can only meet with me 2 times in those 2 days a week. So if they don't make it, they got to go the next week and the next week and the next week. You can set your schedule with your own law firm. And no one ever told me that. Like, I've been one of those people who hated getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning. I hate it. I schedule my emails to go out at 8 o'clock in the morning. I am not up. I schedule all my emails at night before I go to sleep while I've worked on my client stuff, and everything goes up at 8 o'clock in the morning. So my clients will email me back saying, so what's this? I said, I am asleep. I did all your work last night. We'll talk to you when I get up again. It's not my job to be there anymore. So I will tell you is that no one told me this, like time blocking. Like, I don't answer except for 8 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. Those are the times that I look at my emails and I respond back and forth with my clients. Unless I got a special client, then I just, I'd be a little nice because they're going through it, but I know they're going to come back to me for business stuff, IP stuff, and whatever. So you got to nurture that relationship a little bit more. But some clients, you got to let the boundaries be known because they will abuse them otherwise. And no one ever taught me this part of law. They never told me if I go to law school, I might want to do more practical clinic work because it will prepare me better for working as a lawyer than any of the classes that I took, because I learned how to deal with people, and most people don't understand legalese, which is what they teach you in law school. They don't get it. So they're just looking at you like, girl, what are you talking about? Get out my face. Like, that is how they talk to you because they are confused. And no one told me that. Like, no one. They just told me to learn this stuff and I'd be good. But then when I learned this stuff and couldn't explain it to my mom or my cousin or my brother or whoever, and they had a legal issue, then guess what? They went to somebody who made it make sense. They're gonna go to Antonisha because she can make it make sense. You know, she's been professoring for a while, so she know how to break it down. Okay. And so that's what I wish somebody had told me. If I structured my law school experience so that I got more practical, I would be okay. But I didn't. And that's why I said I didn't think about it. And it was good to see the poll because it helped me understand where y'all are at. Y'all are more concerned about getting into the practice. I already believe you're there. Antonisha already believe you're there. I don't know if y'all believe it yet, but we already believe you getting in. So that's why I put that question there. And that's why I put the answer there as an option, because I wanted to know where your head was at. So y'all still feel like you're not going to be there. It's not going to happen. I believe that if you have the desire in your heart and God put that desire in you, he brought you to this space right now because everybody who signed up for this meeting didn't come. Okay. So if he put you in a space right now, he was intentional to get here, gonna be intentional to get to law school regardless. Nothing's gonna be able to stop you, even if there were things that formed to stop you. He never said that they wouldn't form. He said that they wouldn't prosper. Okay, so things will form to stop you, but it won't prosper. And so depending on where your faith life is, you might not have got that reference, but it's okay. But that's what I have learned in this process. And I met a person today, me and Anthonyша did not know each other. You know, we recruited her. Like we sent out our recruitment messages on Instagram and we found Antonisha, and Antonisha's been doing stuff and branding for a while. I didn't know nothing about her. Okay. I'm just learning. Okay. Just like her. I was like, look at me. I got a professor of law here, a UCLA director of admissions. I didn't even know. Okay. So I'm telling y'all, everything that you guys are going through, everyone that I bring to you will more than likely have a story where you hear a part of you that you're experiencing right now, a part of your experience in it. I want you to learn how to listen to those parts and find a way to connect with those people after. That is why I want y'all to come to these meetings. That's why it's only 1 hour of your time. Okay, we went over today, but that's just because you asked a really good question and I couldn't cut you off. I was going to, but I'm not going to because I know that needed to be answered because nobody knows about the practice of law and nobody even thinks about it until we get into law school. And we're just like, wait, I don't understand. Why nobody taught me this? Like, why was there only one law practice management class in the entire school? That was it. That was the only thing they taught. Why did they never teach me about sales? Why did they never teach me about marketing? Why was that never a class? Those are things that people should teach you in law school that they're not. And the only way you can demand that is if you start taking an interest in what happens if you don't listen to what the law school tells you to do and go into big law, because you don't have to go into big law. You can go to any field you want. Antonisha tried big law and look at what she had. She was like, I'm gonna start my own. I don't know what y'all doing over here, but this is Antonisha's show. And I want to run this the way I want to run it. And I ain't gonna speak for her, come and let her finish that part. But yeah, like I started my firm because somebody once told me, and y'all don't see it in a post because I did my social media with Shayna. I don't know if y'all know Shayna, but she run all my stuff on social media. So thank Shayna for all my wonderful stuff and helps me with most of these events. But I had a lady tell me in a job interview that I couldn't wear anything but the color black until she assessed I had enough fashion sense to dress myself in different colors. And that job was only paying $22,000 a year. And I said, you know what? I don't have to deal with this. I don't have to deal with this. I will do my own thing. I do not have to, beg people to pay me when I can do this. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I started a nonprofit while I was still in law school. I can do this. And that's all I needed. That's all you need. You just need to hear that I can do this louder than you hear the what if I fail? Well, what if you succeed? You know, are you ready for the success? Because when you prepare the table for success, success comes. I have written all over my house, I'm gonna make $3,000 per month in my office, in the bathroom in the front, in the bathroom in the back, in my bedroom. Somebody told me to do that on some type of encouragement thing. I'm gonna get into law school, need to be written all over your house. I'm gonna be a lawyer, need to be written all over your house so that you can see it in your car, in every area that you reside in, and you will see that you are going to get into law school. You don't have to ask when or if. It's just you're going to get into law school. And when you start having that belief, you start attracting that energy. And, I'm Christian, but I believe in the law of attraction. Them words, they attract what it is you want. Because if you read the Bible, it says that there was the power of life and death in the power of the tongue. So I believe that you can both kill your dreams and birth your dreams with your words. And I think that that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to let Antonisha give one more insight about how she got into her law practice. And then we're going to do some meditation and we're going to be out. Peace out.
All right. So actually, I was a bit afraid to start my law firm. My mentor is a very, very successful intellectual property and business attorney. And I actually helped her start her law firm about 5 or 6 years ago while I was still in law school. Mm-hmm. And she was always pushing me like, you know this stuff. You run my firm for me, pretty much. You know, you can do this. And I just did not feel that way. I was like, well, you know, you're like the marketing guru and all kind of stuff. And, you know, I don't necessarily do that, even though I have a business background too. I'm just like a little worker bee in the background. I'll just do all the work, you know. And then it kind of got to the point where as I met with more and more people and as I took these jobs as in-house counsel at this big company, and then I went over to another big company. And it kind of got to the point where, as Neena mentioned, you know, when you're working in big law firms or major companies, you are making them all of this money and you're getting a small fraction of it, or you're being extremely undervalued. Like I think the last major company that I worked for before I was like, okay, I'm going to go full time into my firm. I profited them, and this is just me alone. I profited them 7 figures in 6 months. That wasn't including my 6-figure salary. And I sat back and I said, you know what? I have worked with almost 1,000 clients in the last 6 months. And what made me a little bit upset was I could have been doing this on my own. I could have, because most of these clients were repeats, or they requested me. They were saying, I want to work with an African-American female attorney. Now, what happened was in that company that I worked for, there weren't that many of us. So guess what? Since the client is requesting they want a Black female attorney, guess what? You got to send them all to me because I'm the only one with this experience and that's what they're asking for. So you have to give them to me. But sitting there and being undervalued, working 16 to 20 hours a day to where my health was failing. It was abysmal. My mental health, my physical health, I had more doctors than I could count. And I am in my late 20s, okay? I shouldn't have had to go to the doctor as much as I did. But it was because of that stress level to where I was just like, you know what, this is not healthy. I can do the same things and set my own schedule and be at peace and probably make the same amount of money, if not more, which I have, like Neena mentioned those words of affirmation. I remember having, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to get into law school. I remember having a mirror full of all these different sticky notes. My latest affirmation is by such and such year, I'm going to be a 7-figure lawyer. Now, you know, and it is not necessarily about, you know, how much money I make, but I put that up and was saying, you know what, I'm going to do 7-figure deals. I'm going to work with 7-figure brands. I'm going to be that 7-figure lawyer. You know what God did? And I said, this is going to happen a couple years from now. Just last week, God decided to bring in them 7-figure clients. It was like, nope, get started on it right now. It's coming right now. So, you know, you don't know what God has in store for you. Be afraid of how successful you can be, okay? Don't be afraid that you're gonna fail, because failure is a state of mind, which is why I told you guys to take never out of your vocabulary, take can't out of your vocabulary, take failure out of your vocabulary. That is a state of mind and it has no place here, okay? Be afraid of how successful you can be. That glass ceiling that they like to put over us, I wrote an article on this maybe a couple years ago about women needing to break the glass ceiling, especially African-American women, because we are the most educated in this country. We have the highest amount of education, yet we're paid the least. Yet, because sometimes we don't see our own potential. There is no glass ceiling. There's only a glass ceiling if you set one. Break it. Anybody that tries to put one before you, break that glass ceiling. I went into practice for myself because I got tired of the glass ceiling. I got tired of being told I can and can't do this, or when and where I can do certain things. So I went into practice on my own. Now, you may not want to start your own firm. That may not be your ministry. And that's okay. But what you need to think about is, are you going to go into a work environment that really appreciates you and values you to the point where you can have that healthy lifestyle that you really want? I am aware of several firms that have attorneys and staff where it's more so about creating a lifestyle that we all love. So you can have that within your job too. You just have to be selective on what kind of job you're actually willing to take.
Mm-hmm. That was beautiful. All right, ladies. So we're going to do an activity on mindfulness. So I want you guys to, I did this with my little camp kids. So I want you guys to kind of get into a comfortable position. After we've talked about this hard stuff, I want you to ruminate on something that's successful. So of course, I'm gonna let y'all make these decisions with me. I'm not gonna show y'all a video y'all didn't have input in. So I want y'all to tell me an emotion or something you need help with right now that I can look up for you that you need the encouragement for. So what do you need motivation for? Don't all y'all speak at once.
Confidence.
All right, confidence. Anything else?
Great study. For me, a consistent study habit.
Okay. All right. Anything else? All right.
Endurance.
Endurance. Okay. Anybody else?
Staying positive.
Staying positive. Okay. Anybody else? All right. So I am going to find you guys a quick one. Oh, this looks interesting. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Honest Guys, but I love their meditation. So if you ever have heard of them, their meditations usually are very helpful for me. So if you ever need to go look for the Honest Guys, they're very relaxing. I feel very relaxed. It is a longer meditation, but I do want you guys to have a good experience overall. So yeah, be quiet, Mr. Admin. All right, here we go. Everybody get to a comfortable position.
Time you can be alone and sit or lie down for a while without interruption. Make yourself comfortable and loosen any tight clothing or belts. Close your eyes and concentrate on your breath. Inhale for the count of 4. Then hold your breath to a count of 4. Exhale through your mouth, counting to 5. Continue breathing in this way until you begin to feel relaxed. That's in for 4, hold for 4, and out for 5. just fall into a natural breathing pattern. Everyone has strong willpower, but like a muscle, it must be used daily to strengthen it. One effective way to do this is to use it when you desire something. It doesn't have to be anything big, not at the beginning. For example, there may be a chore that you need to do, or a paper you need to write that you can't summon up any enthusiasm for. So promise yourself a treat after you have done it. Perhaps to buy something you want, or give yourself something good to eat. If you want that thing enough, your willpower will enable you to do the chore to reach your goal, which is your treat. If you want to use your willpower to, for example, not eat something or not drink something, then envisage yourself in a room with that particular thing, and then see yourself walking away from it, leaving it behind. See yourself working through the chore that needs doing, and consider any difficulties that might come up. Now, and this is important, think of solutions for them and imagine yourself solving the problems. Now think of the times in your life where you have applied yourself to tasks you really didn't want to do, but you accomplished them anyway. You know you can do this. Visualize yourself going through the task to the end and completing it. See yourself receiving that reward that you promised yourself. Now, begin to plan one of the tasks that needs doing. It doesn't matter how small it is. Just remember that when you have achieved it, you must reward yourself and enjoy that reward. You will have earned it. You may then go on to other tasks, each time ensuring that you give yourself a treat when they are completed. The more you do this, the more you use your willpower and become accustomed to using it, the stronger it will become.
All right. So did that help or not help? Let me know. That's usually a mindfulness technique that I use to kind of get myself back in gear It is very difficult to do mindfulness. When I open my eyes, I probably expected a lot of people to kind of fall off. It's just because mindfulness is difficult. But even that, there was like 12 minutes of your time. That means that you could do this like before you go to sleep at night, and you can do any mindfulness meditation if you just type in mindfulness or meditation and the thing that you're experiencing. And I know that sounds crazy, but until you're able to give yourself those affirmations, until you're able to hear that, even by listening to soft music, mindfulness says things to you that you need to reprogram your mind. And as Antonisha mentioned to you guys, you are reprogramming your mind in law school. So if you get yourself reprogrammed in a positive, uplifting way, this can really help you refocus. And you don't have to listen to the honest guys. You can listen to, some other person that inspires you. But I like the honest guys because there's a lot of quiet time in there where they're just playing music, and you have to be mindful in your meditation because it's easy to be like, oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do all these other things. And like, it's very intentional meditation. So you hear music, you hear soft sounds, you hear different transitions, when they're going to end because you can hear it. And I've done their meditation so long that I knew it was over when I opened my eyes. Like I already knew that they had reached their end point. So getting to that point in your career, in your life, where you take that time out to be okay with your own thoughts is really important. So that's why I try to incorporate mindfulness. Because we had 3 speakers, we were jam-packed today. I wasn't able to do what I normally do, which is to have that question and answer dialogue and fun activities. But I think you guys got a lot of value. So before we leave, Erica and Crystal, my people who are still here, I told y'all, Crystal, what I told you. See, I already knew you was gonna be here. I knew it. I knew you was gonna still be here when we was done. So tell me a little bit about what you got from the experience to Anthonysha and to myself. And hopefully I can pass this along to Akiesha as well.
Well, I'll share that for me, this has been a long journey. And so I guess a big part of why endurance has been a big piece of what I'm working towards is just the longevity of this process for me. But I will say that it's refreshing and I appreciate you doing this because a part of my journey has been reaching out to a lot of the wrong people. And I think that it created a lot more hurdles than I needed, but determination, willpower still has me here pressing towards that goal. So I do believe that this is who I'm supposed to be, where I'm supposed to go. And regardless of what my journey has been, it feels good to be at this part of it and encountering attorneys who are practicing and who are helping other Black women and other attorneys to get to where they are. So I think it's beautiful and I appreciate it.
Awesome. And you guys, I've appreciated you. Antonisha, what did you get from the experience? Hey, Erica, how you doing?
Hey, sorry, my phone died.
I figured. Erica has been following my journey for a while. I'm just so moved because Erica literally just took a chance on me. What's happening with your video, girl?
I don't know. I think it's the green screen thing.
Take that off. Take that off. Put you back up there. I don't know. You're gonna try this again. Nope. We just gonna leave you up there. I don't know what that is. But Erica and Antonisha, what was your experience with talking to the ladies? Did you know that all of them were coming today? Antonisha's like, I was reading your story. Your mentor is my mentor, Dana. That's who taught me, girl. That's who taught me this inclusive, this oriented approach from, you have to be by yourself, siloed to, you can just ask law students and people interested in your type of work to come work for you and teach them. And I was like, no, I can't. They're not going to do that for free. And she was like, yes, they will. And I was reading, you were one of her law clerks when you were in law school. So that's so cool.
Yeah. Dana and I actually went to law school together. So, we've gone from law student to attorney to entrepreneur and everything in between together. That's my big sis. We've been together for like the last 6 years, I think now. So what I got out of this experience, I love taking the opportunity to give back and especially speak to young women that want to do what I'm doing, because I remember before I came to law school, I didn't have, or at least I didn't know about forums like this. So anytime that I'm asked to come and speak, or, if somebody reaches out to me and says, do I have a few minutes, just to talk to them one-on-one, I always make time for it. And I think, just meeting you ladies, because as Neena mentioned, I did not know Neena. I did not know Akiesha. I followed them on social media, but I had no personal interaction with them, just like with you ladies. So it's always a blessing for me just to be able to come into a space and meet other like-minded women and to provide the encouragement to, you all that I wish I would have had before I started my law school journey or while I was going through it.
Awesome. So ladies, and then Erica, I want your input, and then I'm putting in the chat the link. I have finally updated my site. I do my own site updates. I feel so excited when I say that, like I update my own website, because I made my website designer teach me before she left me. So I won't have to keep paying somebody to fix it. But I've updated it so that under the resources tab, you will see a registration thing, and hopefully I will be able to feature like the speakers in that section, either through a slideshow picture or through the links for each of the events. So hopefully after this event, I can put the YouTube video for people to click and go and watch it and see the stories. That'll be great. I'll try to cut this part out. I just think this end part is just for you guys who came. So I think I can go in and edit my YouTube video once it's gone live and like cut the end part so that only us have this experience. Because I just think the end part is like really just our one-on-one time. And I think that it should be special and sacred. I think their presentations are great, but I think that the parts where we start talking about our experiences, all of that should be for the people who are able to come, make it, get a chance to interact. So Erica, tell me what you thought. I love hearing Erica's insights because Erica is just a ball of light, and I will have you speak next week about your light. But Erica, talk a little bit about what you got from the experience.
But yeah, I'm really appreciative that you put together this experience and that both of you were able to speak, and especially from the expertise that you have and from the experience that you've been through and what you've seen along your own journeys, because it's helpful to have people who've done it before you and to help guide you along the way and show you like what mistakes that you should avoid making and things like that. And because it's hard to like find that, it's hard to find like mentorship like in person sometimes, especially if it's being someone like me who doesn't like really have anyone in my family who's lawyers, or I don't know anyone who's the lawyers like close knit to me. So yeah, I'm very appreciative, and it was very helpful, all the advice and all the information and resources that you all gave.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it. You will get an email if you registered after. If you did not register for the event, that's okay. You guys have been given both Akiesha's and Antonisha's emails in the chat. All you have to do is save the chat. I will also save the chat for you and send it off to the people who are able to register and drop it in the group that we have. Anthonyша, if you're not a part of the group, we would love to have you there. It's where we drop free resources, no paid advertisements. If you do drop something that is for money, then you give the girls a free chance to have it, or don't drop it in there, because it's not a profit scheme. This is all about empowerment, free resources, and not trying to sell you something all the time. I know sales funnels, so that's why we do these events. So if you want to sell something, you come here, we tell them about it here, but don't spam the chat with your sales, because I think that the most important thing is connection. And we can't have it if someone's always trying to sell me something or have me buy some swag or something every single day, instead of providing resources that I need, like how to get into law school, what jobs that are out there. So if that sounds like a group you want to be a part of, I think we did send, I told them to send it. And we did send an invitation to the link with the group meet. But if you didn't receive it, let me know. But it should have been in your invitation on Instagram. But yeah, Erica, are you in my group already? I think you are.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And Crystal, are you in my group? Yeah, girl. Hey, look at that. So y'all are always welcome to come back if you enjoyed this. And of course, give your speakers feedback. Remember what I told y'all a long time ago. If you interact offline with people, you can open doors of opportunity for yourself that you don't normally get to have. So don't use this space as the only way to interact with the speakers. They come because they want to give back. So I'm very open to saying they want to hear from you and they want your feedback. So if you have a positive thing to say, even if it's paragraphs, Erica, I want you to know that they want to hear those paragraphs of everything that you feel. So all of your emotions, bottle it up, put it in the email, send it to them. It will brighten Antonisha and Akiesha's day to hear that they made that much of an impact on your life. So I want you guys to continue to think about ways that you can be innovative and creative with how you are able to connect with people in your daily lives. But just don't forget that. Don't forget it, okay? It's easy to forget when we're going through this process. So just remember that as you guys are growing, we're all inspiring and we have a story worth telling. And Crystal, take that word never out your vocabulary. You will be a lawyer, okay? And Erica, I already know, girl. I'm just waiting for you to tell me what's going on now. So you need to update me on what's going on in your life. And as if y'all ever do want to reach out to me or contact me, just go to the site, NeenaTheLastBrand.com. All of my email information is literally located at the very bottom, NeenaTheLastBrand@gmail.com, and then bit.ly/hello Neena. If you go to that link and click it, it will actually have my phone number and everything. So that resources tab at the very bottom of every single tab on my website, there is a get in touch section, and you will be able to get in touch with me directly. So I don't want to hold y'all's time anymore, but I appreciate y'all so much. And thank you. Y'all awesome.